In terms of wellness, there are so many little daily rituals and practices that we can incorporate into our lives. And, I always think, what is it that you need to do to bring your best self to your day every day, and mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? So, I mean, at the simplest level, it's like move your body, eat well, get sleep. I write in a journal often. I read, I call it wisdom literature, things that kind of just speak into my soul at a soul level, like who do I want to be, reminding me that who I am is, I believe that we're all physical, spiritual beings having a physical experience as distinct from spiritual beings, as distinct from physical beings who have a spiritual experience. And I think that little things we can do that just remind us of who we want to be. So I have a journaling practice, and not everyone, we all have different frameworks and belief systems. But for me, I have a strong belief that there is a God, there's a force that's greater than ourselves. And so I often just say, write in my journal, God, what do you want me to know today? Who do you want me to be today? What do you need me to do today? And I just let my pen flow. Like, that is a really powerful practice that I have. But I think even short of that is just taking a moment and going, you know what, how do I choose to show up for what I have today, and being really intentional in how we show up for our life when things are going well, and actually even more specifically when things aren't going well. And just last night, actually, I had dinner with a friend who lost her home in the Palisades. We know that there's thousands of people right now whose lives have been utterly turned upside down. There's so much outside of her control. One of her kids' schools is burned down, et cetera. And I've had my own experiences, like not that experience like that. And I said to her, there is so much that you have no control over. There's so much uncertainty in your future. So you need to double down on what's within your control. And the number one thing is, how do you want to show up in a way that one day you're going to look back and you'll be proud of that person and how she showed up? And give yourself permission to have crappy days, because it's a hard time, but just being intentional about how you want to show up for that and making that a practice. I think there's so much putting be before do. Like, who is that? Who is it that I really want to be? And then if I'm being that person, well, what would that person be doing today? That person would be reaching out to people and actually encouraging the other people around me that are having a bad day. That person would be sharing my truth and where I'm struggling. That person would be maybe investing in doing something that makes me feel better about myself. And so, I always say, put be before do. Who is it that you want to be, and let your doing flow from that.
I love that. I love that emphasis on the things that we can control versus the things that we can't, because so many of us attach to outcomes. And I would imagine in this work, people have the experience of being like, okay, I'm gonna overcome this fear. I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, and then they experience a setback. And I feel like that can be used in one of two ways, right? You can use that to fuel you even further, or it can reinforce your belief that, insert here, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, people don't like you, whatever the situation is. So how can people reframe that if they're experiencing a lot of setbacks, and use that as a stepping stone rather than like another roadblock?
If you're doing anything worthwhile in your life, then it's not always going to go the way you want it to. And actually, even if you're not doing things worthwhile in your life, things aren't always going to go the way you want. I mean, that is life, right? It is just life. Life is not linear, and life will never conform to your plans. And sometimes we can work really, really hard at something, and we can be really brave and go, hey, I'm being brave, I'm taking risks. And this happened. And that can be really disheartening. Got it. This is part of the human condition, right? It is outside our control what occurs. Like, we can never control the output of our efforts. We can only ever control the input, like how we show up, what we do, what we don't do, what we say yes to, what we say no to, where we spend our time, how we invest our money, our resources, et cetera, whether we study up to get more skill in something, et cetera. And so when things don't go the way we want them to, recognizing that this is part of life, and that often it's the situations that test us the most, that hold these silent invitations to teach us the most, for us to grow the most. So one, stepping back and looking at it and going, is there anything here for me to learn? What's the learning here? Don't miss the learning. Find the treasure when life trips you up or you just trip yourself up. Don't miss that learning. And I think it's easy because sometimes it's hard to look at situations and go, man, I helped contribute to that. Like maybe I didn't do my homework. Maybe I trusted people I shouldn't have trusted. Maybe I acted a little bit too impulsively and I didn't think enough about all of the different ways I needed to manage some of the risks here. Maybe I didn't trust someone and I should have trusted someone and I should have got more support with something. So don't miss the learning. Mind the nuggets in those situations. And then maybe there was nothing you could have done. Maybe think of 2020. A pandemic happened. I mean, you couldn't have predicted that. A fire happened. You know, your life was burnt down. You couldn't have imagined that. So, okay, there was nothing you did or that contributed to it. Okay, so how is it I choose to now respond to this as distinct from react and not be defined by it? And I've had so many experiences over the years where things haven't gone the way I've wanted them to. I mean, heck, if things had gone the way I'd wanted them to, a million people would have bought my book before it even came out, right? Like I haven't hit the success that I would have loved and I'm still just going at it because I'm like, I am not going to have my life be defined by whether or not I'm always achieving the winning outcomes I want, but by how I choose to show up in the face of it. And when we are so deliberate in how we choose to do that, then over time it propagates little ripples and things happen. But also you never know how life is working for you in the moments that you think it's working against you. You think it's working against you. You think the stars and the moon are all conspiring against me. I swear to God, it's, I must have been bad in a former life. You hear people say that. I'm like, I'm just so down on my luck. What if all those things you think are ruining your path are actually just revealing your path?
Yes, I'm thinking of a saying that we have in recovery or a concept, and that's the seemingly bad becoming good. Mm-hmm. And, again, and this is something I talk about a lot, like I can look back on my life, kind of what I was saying earlier, and see how the things that I thought would be the worst possible things to ever happen were not actually the worst possible things to ever happen. And they were guiding me in a different direction. And I'm so grateful for all of it. And that's not to say that I would like to experience those again. And there are, horrible, tragic things that happen. So it's not a blanket statement that it's all good, and it's all redirection. But I think, there is a lesson in everything.